Welcome to the Bard of All Trades podcast. I'm your host, Brad the Bard, and today I have the amazing Norway Farmers over here, and they're the new owners of the Brad the Bard bus. So, congratulations.
We're so excited. Yeah. We're really excited, and so many other people are excited too.
Yeah, that's. I couldn't pick a better place for this to have ended up. But before we begin, I just want to give a shout out to some of my sponsors. Firstly, Norway Farms. You guys are gonna hook me up with some cheese, so I have to give you a shout out.
All the cheese. All the cheese.
Then I have Valley Jiujitsu. If you guys want 1 week free of some jiu-jitsu training, go check them out. And they're in Allentown, Pennsylvania. Mention Brad the Bard, and you get a week for free. B&B Media. If you need your event live streamed or filmed, hit us up and we'll take care of you. All of that information in the description. And then also darklegacy.net. If you like horror, sci-fi, and creative writing, check out their website. Link in the description. And then finally, check out my Patreon, and shout out to Sam and Chris, my sponsors for this month. So sorry about that. That's a mouthful. I always have to get through that though. So you guys, we're on the farm. It's a little rainy today, and it's a big difference than the first day I was here, which was really sunny, and it made me very warm and fuzzy about bringing the bus here and stuff. But can you tell me a little bit about like what's a day on Norway Farm like?
Well, pretty much the same every day in some ways, but different every day in other ways. So the general farm schedule is 9 a.m. to 1 p.m.-ish is like when we do the bulk of the farm work. And my farm manager and cheesemaker, Vanessa, arrives stays during those hours and oversees lots and lots of things and feeds things and waters things and checks on things and makes cheese. And I milk and, produce milk for humans. I lead farm events, bottle feeding baby goats 7 times a week. And then I assist with births, and we bottle feed baby goats and do any sort of veterinary anything that the animals need. Anything and everything. Repair. Repair is a big thing. And then there's a lot of laptop time and phone time, just talking with clients, and making sure we have good supply of all the things we need to run the farm, stuff like that.
That's awesome. Can you tell me a little bit about like what made you decide that this was the next path in your life to be like your profession?
Well, so my profession was I was a teacher at the College of New Jersey, tenure track faculty. Then I stayed home and raised my 5 kids, and I still taught and wrote. Then I realized that if you have 5 kids in 6 years, you really aren't going to be going a lot of places for some of those years. So we raised some animals to give them something to do and learn from. Hands-on, I'm a Montessori type, follow the child, homeschool. All of my kids went to some school, like school, and then were homeschooled at some period during their education. And so we had goats and a cow. I do come from a family that had a dairy in New Jersey. When I was a kid, we didn't have money for milk. We drank powdered milk. So maybe that contributed to my love of all things dairy, but I literally love dairy products, cheese, yogurt made with all cream, goat milk in particular. I like the product that I produce, and I was covered up by people really wanting to purchase milk, even when I just had this very small herd. And so I just saw that it was a need in our community. There was nobody producing anything like that for at least an hour from here, and there aren't a lot of food producers who can afford to produce food in Bucks County. They've been sort of priced out, the price of land and labor and stuff like that. So I just went for it, I don't know. It was a very strange calling. I just felt like it was needed. Man, I just wanted to do it. I think it's got to be in the genetics from family dairying.
Yeah, that makes sense. What about you, Vanessa? I'm curious, like, what's your background that you ended up being here?
Oh, I've had 6 different careers.
Oh,
But
man.
but
Do
before
tell.
And they're all very interesting.
When I graduated from college, I went to the Juilliard School on a costume internship, and I worked there for a couple of years, freelanced in theater costume work for years in New York City.
You created like costumes and stuff?
I made like
You
hats
sewed them together and
well,
stuff?
what I did was called costume crafts, which is sort of like the middle ground between props and costumes. So I did hats, shoes, dyeing, distressing, which is where you make brand new clothes look like old clothes.
Oh, cool.
all
I
sorts
did a
of
little bit
things.
of like stage acting
Oh, yeah.
in my college days.
So I would be the one who would bring in, like, here, I need you to try on this piece of cellophane so that we can make it into a jacket for you. Like, I did the weird stuff.
Yeah.
And I did all sorts of strange things. I worked for, ever tell you I worked for Cirque du Soleil?
What?
No, that did not come up.
Okay,
no.
I did wardrobe for Cirque du Soleil. I helped make wings for a Victoria's Secret show. And also, I'm sorry, I haven't told you any
Like
of
the
this.
feathers and
The
stuff?
feathers, yeah.
Oh my gosh.
I think it was for the second Victoria's Secret show. I did it for a
Holy
while.
guacamole.
And I did the wings for Angels in America for
Wow.
the HBO. And so I did that for a while and did opera and like Broadway and off-Broadway work. And so I did that for years. Then I would pick up office work here and there. Then,
That's quite the background to lead you to goat farming.
She is not even done. Like, she has so
Oh.
many skills, it's crazy.
and then I would work office jobs when theater work got thin. And then I ended up moving. I lived in New York City for a long time. Then we moved to deeply rural Maine, where we ran a homestead for 3 years. Then moved back to New York City. I ended up going into New York City real estate, property management, which was intense, and then moved back here to Pennsylvania, where I worked office jobs, and I was a C-suite assistant before COVID sort of got rid of that. And then we have a mutual friend who homeschooled with your kids, and she said, "Oh, my friend is looking for a volunteer to feed baby goats," and I never left. She never kicked me out. So
Yeah,
I'm
worked
this is
out.
where-
She came to me as a volunteer, and I was
Yeah.
like, I keeps the volunteer.
Yeah.
She's mine, and I've defended her ever since. People have been interested in hiring her at various times, and
Yeah.
I'm like,
No.
But-
Mine.
But no, it's been a strange pathway to get here, but I love it. I would not trade this for anything.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's really cool. Do you think what was it about working with the goats like in the beginning that made you decide this is where I belong?
Well, goats are never boring.
Yeah. Fair enough.
They have a lot of thoughts on their own, and you kind of know what to expect, but you never know what to expect. Every day I drive up and there's always something new and interesting.
Shenanigans.
Goaty's gonna go.
So many shenanigans.
Yeah.
Goat stuff.
So many.
We always like to say an annoying goat is a healthy goat.
Yeah.
These are very healthy goats.
She was actually baby nurse Vanessa
Oh yeah,
before she was farm manager Vanessa.
I would come in and my job was just to feed baby goats. I would just bottle feed 12 to 14 baby goats every day, and
But she came
was-
in every day
every day.
as a
Yeah,
volunteer.
like 7
every
days a
day.
week.
Yeah.
Well, and
That's
finally I was like,
amazing.
maybe I could come in not one day a week. Like, oh, sure.
Yeah, sure.
You're a volunteer.
Yeah.
That's awesome, though. I'm curious. So Abigail told me a really cool quote from you that I kind of want you to riff on.
Oh, no.
You said that cheese is a love language. I want to know like the
Oh.
background behind that, and maybe hear about how you guys go about like creating your cheeses and stuff.
Oh, Abby's milk, like the milk that her goats produce is beautiful. It is like high in fat content, high in protein, and it makes the most gorgeous, silky, creamy cheese. And I'm very lucky. Abby gave me the opportunity to go to the Penn State Art and Science of Cheese course. It's a short course at Penn State, and I did that. And I came back with all these ideas and just started making cheese in the giant pasteurizer, and we haven't really looked back since.
Nope.
That's awesome.
And
People asked for cheese a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, like in the early stages, and you were like,
Always.
Yeah.
Anytime I said that I had a milking herd of goats, the first thing they say is
Oh, yeah.
cheese.
Cheese.
And
Yeah.
cheese is definitely a love language. Like if if people, like, if you love someone, you feed them, and if you really love them, feed them cheese. Feed them, like, beautiful, fresh, from the farm cheese. And we started doing flavors, and eventually we're going to move into, like, hard cheeses, but those can take up to 3 to 6 months to actually produce. But right now we're having fun, and Abby gets to try all the flavors.
I ate a whole container of buffalo cheese today.
Oh, man, that's
and then I sent her a picture of the container because I licked it.
There was nothing left in it. It was-
Tell me how you make like goat cheese. Like, is it a different process from other cheeses?
well, it's
I don't know anything about it. So
Okay.
you're gonna be teaching me.
all right. So you have the beautiful milk, and
Yeah.
you heat it. We heat it to pasteurize it. That's for safety. And then when it reaches a certain temperature, you throw in the culture. And that's what gives the cheese its flavor, its esters, and then once it gets to a certain point of acidity and flavor, then sourness, then you throw in the rennet, and the rennet is what turns it from cheese, or turns it from milk
Rennet's
to
like
cheese.
some
Rennet's like a
chemical-
coagulant, basically.
Oh, okay, yeah, okay.
So it takes it all the fat and the protein, and it all clumps together, and so you have
That's the curd.
That's the curd.
Yeah. Okay.
See, you know-
Yeah, I know.
you know this.
I've watched like how it's made one time. Or
yeah.
something.
So you have curds and whey, and you scoop out the curd, and you basically decant it into either molds, or we have these big buckets with strainers that we line with cheesecloth, and we put that in there, and the whey drains off. And the longer you let the whey drain, the firmer the cheese becomes. But then, it's depending. I guess it's early in the season because the fat content is so high.
Right now,
Yeah.
it's very,
It's-
very creamy.
It's so
Yeah.
creamy, and since it's an artisanal product, so like what the goat eats changes how the milk tastes and the quality of the milk, and like it's always high quality, but like
Yeah.
it's either fattier or it's higher in
Yeah, like
protein,
more
or
lean or something.
and
Yeah.
it just has a different flavor from like early spring. But when they
Yeah.
start
So
going out,
seasons can change the chemical like makeup of how the goats are producing.
Absolutely.
That's crazy. I would
Yes.
never have guessed like
And
that, but it makes
also
so
where
much
they
sense.
are in their lactation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
We'll change the
crazy.
components.
Yeah. So I'm curious a little bit, like we were kind of talking about this a little bit earlier, and I have a really specific diet. I tell people I'm a pescatarian, but really, like, it's deeper than that, right? I'll eat any meat as long as it's like hunted or like ethical, but I don't like the idea of consuming meat that was like bred its entire life for the sole purpose of human consumption. I don't like the factory farming stuff. So we were talking about this earlier and how you are super into like sustainable living. You let your animals do whatever they want, like within reason. Like
For the
they
most
have
part.
their own areas and stuff like that. Tell me a little bit about how you like have an ethical farm here, because that's something that was when I got here with the bus. I was like, God, I love this place so much already.
The farm definitely has a good feel to it. We certainly don't have. We have way more space than is needed for the number of animals that we have.
And you have tons of animals, right? You got chickens. I just saw the cat today.
We
for the
have
first time.
Poultry and right now pigs. We have had steer. I own a cow that will be in milk sometime next year, and we just really rely on a pasture-based system where they have way more room than they need to roam. And try to give every animal the opportunity to live the way they would live given the choice, I guess, so to speak. And I always try to improve. We did get help from USDA. I have an equip contract that is making improvements over a 5-year span, and then I'm applying for value-added producer grant. So the better infrastructure you have, the more comfortable your animals and healthier your animals will be. So like I put in this high tensile fencing.
Yeah.
If I hadn't done that, perhaps they would be in like these small, little pens that I built.
Yeah.
But instead I was like, we need infrastructure, let's go big. Or they live in a spacious pavilion or in a really well built large shed. And that was, just decisions for infrastructure.
Yeah. And then you have like the baby goats over here, and that used to be a kennel. I
Used
believe
to be
you
a
mentioned?
kennel,
Yeah.
and again, it is best practices. Baby goats are very prone to parasites, so even for the first 12 weeks or 10 weeks of their life, if we can keep them on concrete, they have like a fluffy inside hay area,
Mm-hmm.
and then they have an outside area where they don't have access to dirt or poop, and that would be like
and
where
that keeps the parasites
yeah,
away,
and then they'll be released, into the pastures, in the fields, and I do permaculture. So when I bought the farm, it was going to be made into a housing subdivision, and just through serendipity, I was able to preserve it and purchase it, and then, which was much to my surprise because it's very difficult to do that in Bucks County.
no doubt.
And that's a whole story in and of itself, how that happened, which was very, like, meant to be, I guess you would say, because it just kind of fell in my lap. So it was soy and corn, and there was a ton of runoff, which is not so good. There are creeks around the farm that go into the Neshaminy, and one of the main pollutants of creeks is runoff soil, which also is not good for the soil in the area. So I switched from that to hay. So I have 25 acres of hay pasture. So if I ever wanted to fence that in, like, I could go big.
Yeah.
With
And
animals.
then all of this back here is yours too. That like grassland.
That's
that we pulled
the
into?
25 acres of
Wow.
it's Timothy.
That's crazy.
Yeah, so if I put I could apply for a grant to put perimeter fencing. I did I was offered a solar contract for community solar to put solar panels back there, and they would do the perimeter fencing, and then I could have grazing animals. It's called stacked uses for agriculture. It's like, everybody loves it. But it would be a bit of an eyesore. So I have not gone forward with that. But so taking away the soy and the corn and putting it in a permanent crop changes everything. Like it changes the way the water moves across the land, which is sort of the heart of conservation.
Yeah.
So USDA has a branch called NRCS, Natural Resource Conservation Service, and they help people like me make decisions that are best practices in terms of conservation.
Yeah.
So that was a lot of how I structured the farm, like just deciding the infrastructure, the amount of space, the amount of animals that would be in the space, proper shelter and safety, the dogs, keeps them safe.
Yeah. Tell me a little bit about those guys. Right when I got in here, they're just just checking me out, making sure that I was a safe guy. I wish they were running around in the background so everyone could see, but you have these giant farm dogs out there.
We do.
They're as big as me.
They are. They could weigh as much as you. Yeah. They are.
Especially because it's raining with their fur that heavy, they're soaking it up.
Yeah, it's too bad we can't flash a picture of them. I'll post pictures, or maybe George post it in the comments.
I'll get them. I'll get some videos of them and I'll post them later too.
We have two really big Russian-style guardians that are like Eastern European mountainous type dogs. They've never been in a house. They don't like to be confined in any way, like whether you tether them or lock them in. That's like the worst thing you can do to them. And they work all night while we sleep. They raccoons, foxes, coyote, possum, skunk, hawks. We have bald eagle. All of these things would think that a goat was a fine snack, or a baby goat was a fine snack, or a chicken. So they just work, and sometimes a predator will get past them and grab a chicken. Usually they'll intercept, and so you'll find a chicken that's like missing some feathers in the morning. Occasionally the fox will have a hold of it for long enough that the dogs can't handle that. Like the chicken doesn't survive. And then we learned recently, if it's a tiny animal, we had like some really small animals, and then the dogs sometimes can't get there in time because they respond to hearing.
Of course, yeah, like the weeping of the animal.
But
like,
they run all night long.
Yeah.
Because I'll hear them barking like a Cujo style bark.
Yeah.
Like, over here, it's like, and then you'll hear them like on the other side of the farm 2 seconds later.
Yeah.
And they're really different at night than they are during the day.
Yeah, that's awesome. They seem really lovable. Like once I got out, like they were just sniffing me up, and I was like, oh.
They're very good with people.
Yeah.
Very safe with
Yeah.
people, but they just work really hard at night.
Mm-hmm. So speaking of like the people, like sometimes you have visitors as well. You said you have like people that visit, and you like do let them like try like some of the products and like touch the goats and stuff. Like tell me a little bit about the tours you guys do.
Yeah, that's kind of blown up this season in a good way. So I had a 5-year plan for starting up the business, and this is year 3 to 4-ish of that plan. So this is really the first year that we were set up enough to host people for events to where it's like safe, and we have enough infrastructure and stuff like that. You know, we're not scrambling to get things done.
Yeah.
We've accomplished a lot. So like the store is here, things like that. So we started doing bottle feeding events 4 days a week, 7 events over those 4 days, and I just do it by a free will donation, and it's the same days from now until the fall. So it's like the same schedule, and people text me to let me know that they're coming. I don't do like Eventbrite or any of that, because I like, you know, the opportunity to talk with people.
Yeah.
I get a lot of feedback, you know, a lot of requests, so that I kind of keep my finger on the pulse of what the community is interested in from the farm. And then I really, like, I had a top-down, you know, business plan, but I think the smart idea is really more of a bottom-up, you know, grassroots, like, you know, because the most successful things I've done on the farm have definitely been from what people were saying to me over and over again, like cheese or baby goats or, you know, that kind of thing. If I follow that,
Yeah.
it seems to work.
Yeah, that's really cool. What are some, like, can you share some stories that you have of the goats, maybe, like, doing some shenanigans, like, of late?
Goat shenanigans. Well, they've been really naughty during their, bottle feeding events. They stand on patrons.
Oh.
They use visitors to jump off of. Like, they'll come running at them, jump, and then whoosh, right, you know, as if they're like a human trampoline or climbing structure.
I've seen them take down a couple of small kids.
Yeah.
Just jump on them and...
Yeah.
I've seen like a video where like there's this one goat that jumps on the other goats and like does a flip off of them.
Oh,
Have you seen that
Go,
stuff?
yeah, go,
They do, yeah.
parkour, yeah.
Go parkour. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Oh, yeah, they will. They'll stand on a cow or stand on another goat given the chance.
they
A
stand on
horse.
each other.
Yeah, we like to say goatie's gonna goat. They're just very goaty. You know, sometimes
Yeah.
people will call me and say, like, my goat is doing X. I'm like, that's just
That's what they do.
goating around. You know?
Yeah. Instead of horsing around, you guys have like goating
Going
around.
around.
Yeah.
That's good stuff. So, do you have a good story?
Um,
I'm sure like you see them all day, like during the feeding and stuff. So.
well, Nigerian bucks are very headstrong, and we had one who kept on breaking through the electric fences, which are turned all the way up to keep them safe.
Yeah.
And he would break through that electric fence and then break through another electric fence to be with the ladies.
Wow.
There's a reason. There's a reason they say
Every-
young bucks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because the younger bucks, particularly the Nigerians, but also the La Mancha, nothing can stop them.
He was very, very, very determined.
Yeah.
They'll
And-
go through or over or under any fencing if they
Yeah.
want to get to the ladies.
Yeah. I mean, appropriately so, right? Like, what else to live for? That's funny though.
Sometimes the parents visiting have to have a special talk on the way home, depending on the time of day or the season or who's in heat. If they're breeding, the pen where they might be breeding is right next to the store and right where we hold the farm events with the baby goats, and there is everybody with their kids, and Jesse brought a mouse, and our cat took it apart at one of the events, so that was like a teachable moment.
Yeah.
And I can't like help them unsee that.
Yeah.
And then they'll look out here, and there'll be a buck breeding one of the does, and the parents are like, "Is that?" Yeah, it's time to talk to Amber in the car.
Yeah. That's funny.
Special kind of.
So you have like a lot of different like types of goats. Can you tell me a little bit about that? Like you were even telling me like goat meat is the most popular meat on earth.
Goat milk is the most consumed milk on the planet, and goat meat is the most consumed meat on the planet. And if you read up on nutrition, goat milk is very nutritious. I don't know if I'd go as far as to say more nutritious than cow, but you can read up for yourself.
Mm-hmm. Do your own research.
Yeah, we think, I know that raw milk is definitely way more bioavailable for your body. For all the components to be absorbed. We haven't denatured all the vitamins and enzymes and
well, that's really interesting.
bacteria.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about like the raw milk. Why is it really popular? Is it more expensive? Can you tell me a little bit about the craze around raw milk versus the pasteurized milk?
Yeah, people are attracted to raw milk simply because it is what some people call real milk. That it's there's a reason vitamin A and D are added back in when you read the label in the stores, because they've heated it most of the time these days to 300 degrees in a span of 30 seconds. So it's like flash heat, like really a shock to the milk. And the protein is changed. The sugar is changed. The vitamins are gone. The enzymes are gone. And certainly bacteria of any kind. I mean, not all bacteria is bad bacteria. Mm-hmm. And all of that is gone. Yeah. So none of that is available to your body anymore. And the casein allergy, that would be from the protein that gets changed. And the lactose problem, that would be from the sugar that got changed. And then when you homogenize it, cow milk is not naturally homogenized, whereas goat milk is.
What is that?
So the globules of fat in cow milk are bigger. And then the goat milk just naturally has smaller pieces of fat, and so they just stay emulsified. You can't really, most of the time, right now we do have a cream line on our milk, but most of the time it's naturally homogenized. So when you homogenize it, the process is they blast the fat globules into many pieces so that they're teeny weeny. So if you leave that fat globule alone, it can pass through your body without attaching to your blood vessels. And it is a real fat that can be used by your brain, like myelin, that fatty coating that's on the outside of your neurons. Like a growing child or an adult, all of our dendrites, our neurons are changing all the time, up until the day we die, depending on what we do every day. And so you want to have that fatty coating. It's like the insulation on an electrical cord that allows the, whatever electricity to flow through it quickly. Yeah. So your nerve impulses are electrons moving through your body, and you just want real fat. And so you don't want something that's been taken apart and winds up stuck to the inside of your blood vessels. So and goat milk just has a real complete bioavailable fat, like the good fat, so to speak, like you would have in an avocado or a good quality olive oil. So it's that kind of fat that your body needs. It's very important. So to have everybody's heard this, trans fats or whatever. So the less you the less you monkey with milk, the better.
Right. To put it cleanly,
leave the milk alone.
So that I'm curious, that 30-second flash heat, is that what the pasteurization process is? Is that what that means?
Yes.
No, I never realized that. That's what
so
that
150 degrees is where most bacteria is killed, and that's a scalding temperature for milk. And going really high or even to 150 will denature a lot of the things in the milk.
How do you do that? What's the process for heating it so fast?
I have no idea.
Do you know? Like
No, it's like a
Well,
is there a machine? What machine does it?
we have a pasteurizer for cheese, but I don't know how it's done on a big industrial
Yeah.
scale.
the milk
Okay.
processing. There are not that many milk processing plants in the U.S.
Oh, okay.
It's like industrial size processing. Many gallons. So their vats are amazing, and the
like
technology
gigantic,
is
yeah.
pretty
Yeah.
pretty amazing.
Yeah.
On the scale that you guys do it, though, what do you use to like make it get hot for the cheese?
Oh, it's a steam jacketed pasteurizer. It only holds 7.5 gallons,
Okay.
and you can set it for a temperature and time, which I do, and then you could cool it off by running water through it. So
through the system.
through the
Yeah.
system. So you do heat it up as quickly and cool it down as quickly as possible.
Yeah.
So it's
So you make these small batches. I'll bet that enables you to do a lot of experimenting with different like flavors and stuff.
Yes.
That's really cool.
Yeah,
So like
it's-
the different like types of goats. Can you make like different cheeses? Like is there goat cheddar and like goat
oh yeah,
brie?
but you don't need different kinds of goats. You just need delicious milk, and you can cheddar goat milk. You can, well, chev is what we are doing currently, which
Chev?
is chev, which is just goat cheese.
Yeah.
It's a fresh goat cheese, but you can age it, you can cheddar it, you can do all sorts of things with it, but it will not ever be as hard as a cow cheese.
Yeah.
It's just a different
It's
chemical
just like
makeup. So
that's cool. What's your favorite kind of cheese from the goats?
Well, we've only made one.
Okay.
yeah, but we've added flavors to it.
Yeah.
But
You were saying like the buffalo cheese. And
yeah,
Stuff.
I liked the buffalo. She did roasted garlic. That was very good. She did blueberry with lemon zest.
What?
We like that. I mean, I like all the cheeses. They're
That sounds like it would pair well with wine.
Oh, yeah. My favorite currently is the fig and honey, which because this is
Yeah.
there are fig trees that grow on the farm, and there's honey that's produced here on the farm. And I thought, well, that seems to be a natural, and goat cheese goes beautifully with honey. Like you can take it and put it on crackers and just drizzle honey over it, and it's pretty transcendent. It's delicious.
That's amazing.
And people use it in recipes quite a bit, like to spread over crostini or make into a pizza or baked ziti or
Oh yeah.
I don't know.
goat
Vanessa's
cheese
the
pizza.
foodie with the trained palate.
Yeah.
I make the raw materials, but then the
Yeah.
magic is she's the value added.
Well, there's no magic in the pot. Like if you don't have good ingredients, you can't make good food. So, good ingredients makes good food.
So Nigerians and La Mancha are known to be the best tasting of the goat milk. So a lot of goat milk tastes kind of goaty or gamey, and these two breeds, it tastes like almost nothing at all with a hint of sweet. So that was how I chose them. Also, they have really high components. So, some goat milk will have less butter fat, and then so it's not as amenable for making cheese.
Okay.
So that's kind of, I think, what Vanessa is saying.
Yeah, no,
Nigerians
that's-
have really high milk fat.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So-
Because they're small and they produce a small quantity, it kind of concentrates all the components.
Yeah.
It's like if you had Kool-Aid that was only in a glass this thick and then you took like a giant scoop and put it in there. Like it's just concentrated.
Yeah, definitely. That's pretty crazy stuff. I don't know too much about like farm stuff, so this is like a really nice learning experience for me.
It's a science.
Yeah, it's really cool to hear it like described. that
And
way.
her experience with theater and just walking into something
Yeah.
new each day and coming up with a solution is, and also her people skills is very amenable to farm life
Yeah.
because you don't know what you're walking into necessarily. You have to be creative on the fly a lot of the time, like solutions to problems that you never imagined you would be faced with. Something surprises you, and then also there's people. This is like
Yeah.
a community unto itself, and
Yeah.
so
Do you get visitors pretty often here?
daily.
yes.
Every day.
every
Oh
day.
wow, I thought
Every
you like
day.
had specific like days and times. That's crazy.
It winds up being
Yeah,
pretty much all the time.
That's cool. though.
We're really pepper. Like
Yeah.
I probably answer, easily 100 or 200 email, text, or messenger every day, phone
Yeah.
calls.
Yeah, and then people will just sort of wander on the farm, and I'm like, oh,
We
here's
do
the
have wanderers.
here's the
Yeah.
farm store. Here are some goats. Please be careful. Do not go beyond this point because it can. Farming is wonderful, but
Yeah,
there's some
real life dangers.
there's some
of course.
dangerous parts to it. There are
Yeah.
pointy metal things this sort of around, and
Yeah.
we have to make sure that people are safe.
Yeah, definitely. That's pretty crazy though that you have like people all the time. Do you charge like for like admission to get in and do a tour? Or you just kind of let people check it out?
Right now, the bottle feeding is the only event, and it's a free will donation.
Uh huh. Yeah, you were mentioning.
But
that.
I don't police that. Like, I don't collect it.
Mhm.
There's a cash vault, and
Yeah.
they can decide to drop something in if they want to. Sometimes people will Venmo me after they leave the farm. I think, a certain percentage of people don't do that. And I just am not willing to really police it. I'm fine with whatever, at least, for right now.
Yeah.
The way it's working seems very nice. People are happy. I'm
Yeah.
happy. It's good. And we were thinking of adding a Follow the Farmer event. And for that, I may attach a fee to it just because I need to keep a tighter rein
Yeah. Of
on
course.
how many people. Because I want it to be a good experience. And if
Yeah.
it gets oversubscribed, then it's just really
Yeah, it's hard to.
not
manage
as fun
that.
for each person.
And the farmer,
And the farmer.
You gotta babysit goats and people now,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That's pretty cool though. Tell me a little bit about the products that you guys produce. So I know you got the cheese, you got the milk, you got the honey. What else do you have? Like tell me about like some of the specific pieces of each thing too. I want to know all about it.
So we produce milk, raw goat milk, cheese, honey with hives here on the farm, meats. So the meats that I've produced here on the farm, not all at exactly the same time, but like let's say over the last couple of years, would be duck, turkey, chicken, pork, beef, goat meat.
I think that's
it.
yeah,
Yeah.
and also their eggs.
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 Yeah.
And then we make a CBD tincture. There's my hay farmer did a test plot of hemp, and it's been through the lab. We know its components, and the marvelous magical Vanessa makes it into a very strong CBD tincture.
Yeah.
And we like to say, taste like the devil, sleep like an angel.
Yeah.
It really tastes awful, but
Yeah.
it really does. Like if you put a couple drops under your tongue at the end of the day, it's very relaxing and soothing, and you can just go to sleep. And
Yeah.
with
You
this-
can also put it in your tea in the morning.
Yeah.
It's not, it just has to do, you have to get used to
just
how it affects
metabolize it.
each
Yeah.
person.
That's pretty crazy. So the bees access the hemp the same way they would get in like a flower for the pollen? Like how does that
Well,
work?
the hemp test plot was not on this farm.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I mean, pollinators would pollinate hemp.
Yeah. That's interesting. I'm like, can you tell me a little bit more about the process of like infusing the CBD with the honey? Like, how does that work?
Oh, we haven't
We
made
haven't
CBD honey,
put
but
the
that's
Oh,
a
I
great.
thought-
Yeah,
yeah.
That's a
that's
great
one of the
idea.
things I edited.
Yeah.
I think that CBD honey would be kind of amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll
Now,
try
is
that.
it in your
Yeah.
lip balm?
Not in the patch that we have out there, but I
Yeah.
have put CBD, lemon balm, and mint, because CBD doesn't necessarily taste very good, but
Yeah.
mint makes a lovely cover for it, and
Yeah, for sure.
lemon balm is just nice.
Yeah.
So-
That's cool. Yeah, I misunderstood that. I thought you said like you had that in existence. here.
Well,
Yeah.
we've been
Yeah.
so we're testing how much
Some
people are really
batches, yeah.
liking the CBD tincture, which
Mhm.
actually we just sold out of, and she had to.
Oh wow.
Restock.
So you do like it.
It's strong, and sometimes CBD can get pretty expensive. Like if you buy a high quality tincture,
Mhm.
and at the health food store, and they are nowhere near as strong as ours is.
Mhm.
So because we can afford to, we don't have all the layers of manufacturing and
Yeah.
but then we thought that if it became popular, we might start to offer other things with the CBD in it,
Like
and that's her ball of wax.
Yeah.
I would like goat milk lotion with CBD in it, so that
Goat milk lotion.
Yes.
Do you
There
make
is-
lotion now?
I'm working on
You're
it.
working on it.
I'm working
Oh,
on
that's
it.
so
I've
crazy.
been sourcing some interesting ingredients like sunflower wax, which is not taken from the seeds; it's from the flowers themselves. So it's like this very light, easily absorbable. It's a lot of lotions can be very heavy and cloying and sticky feeling, and
Yeah.
I want to make something lovely and light and that makes your joints feel better.
Yeah, that's definitely an interesting thing. I know in my experience with like some CBD stuff, a lot of guys that do Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu like use CBD rubs because our joints are
That's
trash.
what she.
like,
That's
on a
what
regular
she's
basis.
talking about.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
exactly
It's
what.
great. Yeah,
yeah.
that's so awesome. So how do you guys sell your stuff online? Like, how can someone come check your stuff out? They have to come to the farm. Yeah, let's go.
We keep it simple. The pricing that I offer is generally below market.
Wow.
You know, which is unusual. Sometimes farms, you know, can be a little bit more of a boutique experience. And you are, I mean, you know, sometimes some things I produce are break even, and then I'm like, okay, well, that didn't work.
Yeah.
But
It's cool that you're in a position where you can afford to make these like experiments, though. You know.
I mean, I can and I can't.
Yeah.
I always like to say I'd rather be a waitress when I'm 70, God willing,
Yeah.
and live the way I wanted to live,
Yeah.
and do the things that I felt like I wanted to do for the reasons that I had, and you know, look back on that, and if I have to, you know, be a cashier or something, you know, at least I'll get to see people every day, and
Definitely.
hoping not, but, and also George and I have talked about, it would be really fun to go at work as farm hands, like let's say, heaven forbid, you know, I'm not able to keep the farm profitable, I wind up moving off the farm. We thought it would be fun to go to, we're both have Scottish heritage, and we thought about going to Scotland as farm hands and just like living on somebody's farm and working, or just going all over the country in the US, like just buy an RV or maybe in this bus.
Yeah.
And we talked about, because the demand for people who can farm sit a real working farm, like a dairy, is like a very small amount of people.
Yeah, so like
'Cause you have to
the
be able-
pool's small, but the demand's high.
Demand is high, so like you have to be able to milk animals, deal with horses, deal with animals giving birth, like all sorts of potential things need repair, emergency repair, you know, stuff like that. So it's not like pet sitting.
Yeah.
So we thought it would be really fun to travel the country and just be like relief farm sitters.
That would be pretty cool. I think like if the demand's there, you know, you're identifying a potential path like for the future.
There are
That's really
people who
cool.
do it now,
Yeah.
but it's a short list.
Yeah, I believe it. That's
So,
really cool. You got to make a YouTube channel doing that. Go to every state and do it.
Yeah.
I would
Yeah.
watch that.
Yeah, for sure.
I would.
It's like Dr. Pole.
Yeah.
Oh, wait,
Except with
Dr.
all the
Pole.
doctoring not there.
Right.
So tell me a little bit about like the meat end of things. Like how do you go about butchering like the different animals, and like what sorts of meat products do you produce? You mentioned briefly about sausage. Like do you make some jerky as well?
So the sausage that's in the store now is from a butcher that I used back in like year 2 or year 3. So I now have a commercial grinder and a commercial butchering saw, and can make sausage. We just started grinding. Actually, we're hosting community butchering days.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, so this weekend we have 2, and a couple weekends ago we had 1, and so we'll be butchering a hog each one of those days, and people can come and purchase the meat that they butcher at a reduced price, and they also would contribute to a fee for their instructor who's also butchering alongside them and talking and helping them learn. So they're basically harvesting meat for themselves that has been raised, you know, outside. They can see how it's been raised. And then they're also getting instruction. So it's kind of like, and then there's no butchering fee. Like normally, if you were to purchase meat from a farm, you would pay that butchering fee as your responsibility. So,
So
again,
you're just charging like for the lesson basically.
I asked that they contribute directly to a friend of mine who is great at explaining things. Yeah, so
Yeah. That's really cool though.
yeah, it's people are asking for it. It's really
Yeah.
driven by the community. I was covered up by requests, so I was like, okay. But I did set up the butcher shop. That was one of the key infrastructure things that I went after. So I did the store, I did the milk house, cheese processing, the fences, equipment, and then the butcher shop was definitely something that I felt was needed, because when you have dairy animals, you're going to have a lot of things giving birth, and they're not always going to give birth to female things. They're going to give birth to male things, and I like to sell them walking, as pets, or there's a big demand for that around here.
Yeah, people want like goats as a pet.
Well,
That's crazy.
they
They're
keep them
adorable.
as pets.
Yeah, they are.
They're pasture ornaments. They
Yeah.
have companions for horses. They have so many different reasons that they. And I always talk with the people. I'm not advertising this year, but people do come and find me. And I always say I can be persuaded. So if I can sell them into a good situation that I'm comfortable with, that I definitely would prefer to do that. But, there's a saying, where you have livestock, you have dead stock. And, there are going to be animals that would go to auction. So instead of sending them to auction, I thought, why don't I just build a butcher shop here, so that, anytime something needs to be culled, is what we call it, we just cull it here. But, I have a pretty rare, not most people don't want to be butchers. So, you just have to have like that personality where you're okay raising something and then being like, okay, today's the last day. See you, bye.
Yeah. That's pretty wild.
Yeah.
Well, like you said, they have a good life with one bad day.
One bad
Yeah.
day. Yeah.
Bad day.
That's so awesome though.
We just extended one little boy's life considerably today.
yes.
I disbudded him so that he can be someone's pet. So again, he had a bad day. We used all kinds of painkillers and stuff like that, but we do use an iron for the disbudding, but the effect of that is that he'll be a fabulous pet for someone. So
Disbudding means what?
getting rid of horns,
Oh,
like
okay.
the
That's
little
kinda
butt
what I
of the
thought. Yeah. So if they don't have that, they can't go destroying stuff as much then.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of people will keep animals that are horned, and that's great. But sometimes, like this particular client, he's going to be paired with another animal that does not have horns. So mixing them is, sometimes.
Could be dangerous.
Yeah. That was her preference, and she has a nice farm locally, so.
Yeah. Can you tell me a little bit about the different types of horns that appear on the guys that you have around here? Like you have like the Nigerian ones versus the other ones. Like, do they grow like straight ones and some curly? Like, I don't know anything about that.
They would go just like up and back.
Yeah. Okay.
For these
Like a slick back haircut.
these
kinda.
particular breeds, it's like up and then just arches back.
Yeah.
If we left them, and there are some here that are horned.
Yeah.
Typically, I don't
You can see
disbud
them all.
all the boys,
Yeah.
just
Well,
because.
that guy's got some.
Yeah, he's a breeding buck. So females and males both grow horns.
Oh, I did not know that.
Yeah, and then they also will both
So it's not
grow
like
beards.
antlers for a deer, right?
No.
Like that's one where only the male gets it.
Yeah. Well, deer will lose their antlers
Yeah.
once, but the goats keep them
Yeah.
all the time. They don't.
permanent,
They just
yeah.
grow
Yeah.
or stop being grown.
Yeah. So, are there easy ways to identify a male versus a female goat?
Big balls.
Yeah. Okay, fair enough.
Goats have huge balls.
I feel like I've seen them before, but like maybe it's not the
really,
most obvious thing to
really
do.
disproportionate to their body.
Yeah. That's funny. It's crazy. You think like a lot of goats they climb mountains, so like how do they keep balance? You
Well,
know?
some of them are neutered.
Yeah.
So that's not literally a reliable way to tell them
Yeah.
apart.
Yeah.
Well, if you look at their backside,
Yeah.
you can count the
Oh,
holes.
how we tell them
Yeah.
apart is one hole versus two.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
That's how we tell them apart. But
Yeah, when
you
they're
can't
neutered or
reliably, you can't rely on the horns. The beard, is not.
Yeah, everyone can grow beards, everyone can grow horns.
Body size is not necessarily
An indicator, yeah.
No.
That's interesting. Or do you have a favorite kind of goat? Like, is there a goat that has a better temperament than other types of goats?
Oh, I love the La Manchas.
The La Manchas?
They don't have ears, so people are a little bit weirded out by it. I mean, they've got little tiny
Yeah,
ears.
you have to point them out to me.
Oh,
I want
yeah.
to look for it.
But
So
people-
these guys are not La Manchas. Those guys
No,
definitely
those are
have some-
Nigerians.
Yeah.
But which are adorable, but the La Manchas are just so sweet. They're
Yeah.
just they'll come up and they'll like rub their heads on you and
Yeah.
they're like big grass puppies. They're,
Yeah.
they're nice.
Grass puppies.
They're sweeter though. They're
Oh,
very
yeah.
very sweet. Yeah.
Yeah.
We so the Nigerians are very popular. They have great character.
Oh, the mosquitoes coming in here. That's the
Uh-oh.
drum, Yeah.
And they're just they have more opinions. They're typically a little bit louder,
Yeah.
but they're very fancy. They're like the Barbie doll of goats.
The La Manchas are.
The Nigerians.
Oh, the Nigerians are
They're
the Barbie
because they're a
dolls.
miniature variety. So like those are the ones that you would see in videos with like little sweaters on and hopping, you know,
Yeah.
on trampolines and.
Yeah.
The La Mancha it's a bigger goat. It's a standard sized dairy goat, so you don't see them, you know, as frequently in goat videos. But their temperament is just very chilled out.
Yeah.
They're just very loving and very chilled out.
Yeah. That's cool.
So they just have like a really good feel about them.
Yeah. That's really cool.
That's what we like.
Yeah. So can you tell me a little bit about like do you have like a favorite like animal of each like type? Do you have like a chicken that's like your friend that's like, oh, that's Larry the chicken?
Oh, we have, yeah.
we don't kill him and eat him.
No, we have favorites of
Everything.
everything.
Yeah, tell me
yeah.
a little bit about your favorites.
Mm,
Do you have a favorite goat?
who's
that
your
exists right
favorite
now?
animal on the farm?
That's
If you
tough.
had to,
I'm putting you on the spot.
if you had to name one animal that you either in past or present that you have really loved.
Oh, well then that would be Cuppers.
Cuppers?
Yeah, when he was a like a little goat, he didn't eat well, and so Abby made the comment one day that his sides were suction cupped together because he was so thin,
Yeah.
and suction cup just stuck, and
Cuppers.
so we call him Cuppers because like
Yeah.
suction cup is not a pretty name.
Not a good name.
It's not a pretty name, but he was sweet and dumb with nothing but elevator music behind his eyes, and
Yeah.
he'd follow you around.
Yeah. That's amazing.
He was a really sweet boy, dumb as a box of hair, but really sweet.
Some of them are.
Yeah, some of them are, but like
Most of the women,
Yeah.
it's usually the males that
so
are.
good.
Well, we think anyway.
But no, my favorite right now is we call her Amanda Panda because she has basically a panda bear face on her side.
Oh, okay.
But she's was one of our bottle babies last year, and so we've raised her since she was teeny. All the goats here are bottle babies, and
Yeah.
she's just a sweetheart, and she's really nice. So
Yeah. What are
Yeah.
some like weird things that you see like that are not something maybe that I would know about like a goat? Can you give me like a fun fact about like something that maybe when they're a baby they do something like that I don't know about?
oh
Or even like what's like a day-to-day thing like, oh yeah, goats, you have to make sure to put horseshoes on them or something. I don't know.
They gamble.
They gamble.
GAMBOL.
Okay.
So they leap sideways. So like if they're excited and they kind of have the zoomies,
Yeah.
they run. But they like when a dog has the zoomies, it's like
Yeah.
So when a goat has the zoomies, they'll run forward sometimes, but then sometimes they'll get so excited that they kind of like, you know, when you on a skateboard, what's it called, where you kind of kick your skateboard up and like twist your body?
Yeah, like when you like
When you're
run.
skiing, it's a daffy.
Yeah.
And so they do that. They just like will be running, and then all of a sudden they'll like go sideways,
That's so
and then they
funny.
kick their little hooves up, and or they'll jump off of something and like it's like you're skiing. They'll be like, "Wah!"
That's amazing.
They like to stand in trees.
Okay.
They climb-
Do you have issues with them climbing like the trees to get out of like the pen and stuff?
We would, yeah.
Yeah,
if,
sure.
if they could, they would, yeah.
They used to climb. There's a hay holder,
Hay rack.
hay rack, and they would jump up on the hay
One of
rack
them used the
and
hay
jump
rack to
out.
get out.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they
They-
definitely will do that.
And they climb. They're
Yeah.
very good at climbing.
They're very goaty.
Have you ever had one that like got off the farm and you had to go find it?
Not that I've ever.
Not a lot. That's part of the infrastructure.
Yeah.
If
So
you
you have
want-
a well-built like infrastructure. for
Yeah,
that
I'm a
to
big
prevent it.
infrastructure girl, so if I like to build it right. Yeah.
Oh, their pupils are rectangles. So if you know how ours
yeah.
are round,
Sideways.
I feel like I've
theirs
seen
are
that before.
rectangles. Yeah.
Well, what's the reason for that? Right, it's like a horizontal thing, right? So because
They have really good peripheral vision.
yeah,
Like there's like maybe
Oh.
like a foot directly behind them that they can't see.
Well, they have 360, and so do cows. Yeah,
Yeah,
they
they're-
can see because of the way their eyes are on the side of their head.
yeah,
They can actually
like
see
a hammerhead shark.
because
kinda has the same kind of
because they're
thing.
prey.
Yeah.
So
that
they
makes sense.
like predators don't
they're
have that,
keen,
but
yeah.
prey animals
They do
lower on the
yeah.
food chain tend to be able to see.
That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool stuff. Have you ever had like an issue where you had to chase a goat like and get after them? Like
Oh, yeah.
What's a strategy for like wrestling a goat to the ground? What do you gotta do? Abby's like, "No,
Whatever you
nightmares."
can. You really are never gonna win chasing a goat. So that's
Yeah.
just like off.
They just see it coming every time.
That's off
So
the
fast.
table. Just
You gotta like you ever bring him in with like the carrot and like maybe try to like put him in a head
That
yoke or
helps.
something.
we do that. Yep.
I carry corn in my pocket all the time.
Yeah.
Just to like sweet talk the goats and be
Yeah.
like, "Hi, come here," and then you grab them.
Yeah. How do you grab them? What do you normally do to grab a goat?
Well, if we're lucky, they have a collar. And we can
Okay.
grab onto that. But if not, you just I've had to like tackle them.
Yeah.
Legs.
Legs.
yeah. You
Yeah.
think you go
Fur.
for the legs?
Legs are good. Fur.
Yeah, like just like they're really tough. They're very tough.
Yeah, they're like
animals.
sturdy animals. So
Yes.
I'm wondering, like, do you got to go like over under, like, to get like around the head and like I'm like thinking from like a jujitsu perspective. Like I'm looking at these guys like how. Or that's
Oh
that's the
yeah.
dog.
Well, we
It's
call
all
it the
position.
redneck headlock.
the redneck
I
headlock.
well, what you do is you stick that. You can do this with a lot of different kinds of animals, but you stick
Yeah.
their head one way or the other through your knees and just close your legs, and you're
Yeah.
standing there, and they can't go anywhere because
Yeah.
you've got them in a headlock, but you made it with your body.
Yeah. No, I
So,
like it. All
yeah,
right,
we
that's a
do
good strategy.
definitely like the redneck headlock all the time, and we use it all the time.
Yeah, that's good stuff.
Yeah. Well, I will interject. You were talking about handling animals.
Yeah.
And Vanessa, I say to people all the time, and I'll say it here too, she is like working with Snow White.
Yeah.
I actually think she looks like Snow White. And
I'd buy it.
she has the temperament of Snow White.
For
so
sure.
when she first came to the farm,
All
and
the animals flock to her.
and even today, yeah, I'm surprised she doesn't have like little bluebirds on her
Yeah.
shoulder right now. And she talks to them. So when she goes through the farm, you can hear her in a very low voice that
Yeah.
is sweet, talking to all of the animals. She has special things that she says to them.
Well, sometimes I'm calling them jerks.
Yeah.
I mean the
She
roosters
does call them things sometimes that are not flattering, but you would never know that that's what she was saying.
Yeah.
Well, I
They
mean-
definitely deserve it, I'm sure too.
Well, the roosters can be particularly aggressive, but I'm trying to win them over.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's not mean enough to have the vibe where roosters will not go near her.
Yeah.
Like they won't even walk near me. They're just like, we say that I'm the wire monkey and she's the fuzzy monkey.
We
You ever
make a
see
good team.
the experiments with the baby monkeys?
No, tell me.
So they would take a baby monkey, and on one side of the cage they would have a wire monkey. So it had like nothing, no padding, no fur, and it had a bottle in it. So the food that the baby needed came from the wire monkey.
Yeah.
And then they would have a fuzzy monkey where it had like padding, and it was shaped
Yeah.
like a mommy
like
monkey,
a stuffed animal.
and it had fur.
Yeah.
And so the baby monkey would spend its whole day on the mommy monkey, the fuzzy monkey, even though there was no food there. And only when it needed food, it would jump to the wire monkey and eat, and then jump right back to
Run
fuzzy
back.
monkey.
Yeah.
So we always say that.
So Abby is the practical,
Yeah.
necessary, useful one, and
Yeah.
I just pet all the animals.
she's the
Yeah.
fuzzy monkey.
I'm the fuzzy monkey.
Yeah, I've heard that stuff. Have you ever done any like psychological experiments with the animals to see how they behave in certain situations like that?
Yes.
Tell me
I-
a little bit about that.
Well, you go ahead.
It seems like
I'm a
like
psychologist. I was a
Yeah.
psychologist
Yeah,
before,
yeah,
so
I
like
wanna hear
I've
about it.
taken behavioral.
Yeah, so you know how to get them to
Yeah, I
behave
mean,
right,
I use operant conditioning on
Mm.
anything that breathes. Just
Yeah.
because it's logical. It's like
Yeah.
you know, connecting the wires to things because that's where they go.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, these connections work together.
So like you never reward the behavior you don't want to see again,
yeah,
right?
Yeah.
yeah,
No, and I use positive reinforcement for like, oh, have a treat, you did something good.
yeah, of course.
And-
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And it makes now like that's kind of bridging a connection in my mind where I'm thinking you have a lot of like really ethical practices with the freedom that you're giving the animals to kind of have agency over their own space in their lives, but it's because you've taught them that it's better to be this way.
Well,
And,
we
know.
definitely have trained. You know,
Yeah.
some of them train us occasionally, but
Yeah.
we do train them, and actually that's why most of my clients come back and back and back and back for goats, because it's hard to find animals that are going to consistently be delightful to be around.
Yeah.
So like my goats will not put their hooves on you. They don't run away from you. They run towards you. You know, just stuff like that. They're very, lovable and affectionate.
Mm-hmm.
So it has to do with the way we raise them.
Yeah. Do you have ways that you go about this like from an early age? Like how do you go about that? Maybe like is the bottle even a reward, like early stage? kind of
Yeah,
thing?
we're
Like,
the only mommy they've ever known. They're
Yeah.
not raised next to their
biological.
mom because it's a
Yeah.
dairy. So
Mhm.
we're milking. So yeah, we handle them, and they think that we are the source of all the cuddles and all the milk and all the.
And they'll follow us around, and they
Yeah, if you
Yeah.
set everybody out of their fences right now, they wouldn't leave.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, because this is home, right?
Yeah.
That's so cool. That's so cool to think about that.
they're not like
in
dogs
that
or
perspective.
horses
Yeah.
where they're like, "Ooh, what's that?"
Yeah.
They're just like, "Oh, this is where we belong." Like when the
Oh.
sun sets, if you opened all the gates when the sun set, they would just zoop.
Be like,
Right
no
back
way.
to where they
Yeah.
go.
or they might break in to the feed in the
Yeah.
equipment shed, but like that's kind of
That's as far as they would go.
yeah.
Yeah. So where do they sleep? I see like some pens and stuff.
Mhm.
Is that they just kind of go in there?
Well, there's a big pavilion in the back of the milk house where the does in milk live. There's a shed in that field, and there's a shed in that field, and then this field is temporarily set up for goats with like hutches, which they like, and it's like 20 degrees warmer inside those hutches than it is outside, so they're very good. But then once the pigs are gone, I'll reseed that, and then they'll be back in the shed there. So.
Yeah.
It's either a shed or a hutch
Yeah.
for everybody.
And lots
That's
of
pretty cool.
fluffy bedding.
Lots and lots of fluffy, fresh, dry bedding.
Yeah.
That's the key.
It seems like this is the coolest job in the world. So it's making me wonder. I
Love
feel
our
like we've
job.
touched on this a little bit before, but why isn't this as common in like the Bucks County area? You said like you're in a unique position that you have the best stuff in like however many mile radius.
You have to have a pile of money.
Yeah, to start everything.
Yeah, it's
So
expensive.
what are the logistics behind it? Like you have to go through a lot of like the law stuff.
Yes.
Yeah, tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, I spend like $3,500 a year roughly on laboratory fees that are required by Department of Agriculture to have the raw milk permit. So we're tested for things that are zoonotic to humans, like Salmonella, E. coli, Campylobacter, Listeria, brucellosis, tuberculosis. My well water is tested. Every kind of test. The milk itself is tested every 2 weeks.
Oh yeah, I
They
remember
come take a
someone was
sample.
here, when
Yeah.
I brought the bus.
Yep.
Yeah.
So they look for bacteria on every other week,
Mhm.
and if I don't pass, then I don't keep my permit.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, that's pretty wild.
yeah,
Dairy
and
is,
dairying is
90%
relentless.
Yeah.
Yeah, sanitation is a huge thing.
So much bleach.
And it's also relentless. A lot of people don't want to dairy. Like if you raise meat, it's out there and it's making itself.
Mm-hmm.
And you feed it and you make water and shelter and fencing and stuff like that. But, if like today, we milk them twice a day, every day. Like on Christmas, New Year's Day, New Year's Eve.
Birthdays, there's no spring break. There's no. It's just.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
But you just have to have that personality.
Yeah.
It's dairy farming, I think, is different from all other farming, honestly.
Can you tell me a little bit like what the philosophy differences are there?
It's just the level of the work.
Yeah.
It's
Okay.
just different.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm
It's
not
just a lot
trying
more
to
time
say that
investment.
other types of farming are not hard work. Certainly during harvest season, planting season, if you're a crop farmer, there's repair and heavy work all year round. But it's just doesn't have the relentless nature that dairy has, where you have to live on that schedule forever and ever. Amen. Just so you kind of have to have that personality that you can deal with the
Yeah.
constancy of it.
Yeah. So yeah, that's pretty crazy stuff to think about. So I'm curious, like for the meat end of things, is it as difficult? It's not nearly as difficult as like the dairy end of things for those logistical things.
Not really,
No,
no.
not really at all.
Well, you have to feed them
Yeah.
every day and
Yeah,
make sure they have
but
clean
I'm saying like the
water.
law part of it. Like with the permitting and stuff.
Well, yeah, the Department of Ag and USDA have oversight over butchering. It depends. In Pennsylvania, laws are very favorable for producers. We can sell on our farm animals that we raise, either as an entire animal or in portions of 4. So, like, 4 people could buy a cow, like, split it 4 ways, with very little oversight.
What can you explain that a little bit more? Like 4 pieces, like if I wanted.
Well, I mean, you would, let's say, you have a hog that weighs, it's 160 pounds of meat.
Yeah. Okay.
So you could have up to 4 people purchasing that 160 pounds of meat.
But you couldn't sell like 10 pounds.
So
to,
if you wanted to
yeah.
do that, then you
Yeah.
have to go to a USDA certified butcher.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to sell it off the farm or sell by the piece.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's sort of how that law works.
So for like the sausage and stuff that you make, how do you do that? Like I'm curious what goes into like the meat selling part of that. That seems more complex than I thought.
Yeah, well, we would break it up into shares.
Okay.
So, like, if I were taking a pig to the butcher
Yeah.
to sell the meat, I would have
and it's
him
sold in your shop.
have
here,
him box
right?
it into shares.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay. So people have to buy it in bulk shares then.
And
like
it would
if they
have to
buy
be
from
sold here.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's the way the law is. Like, I couldn't, approach the local. If
Like
it wasn't
grocery store or
a
something,
USDA
yeah.
butcher, I couldn't approach a local market and go sell it there.
Yeah. Man, there's so much that goes into this. Like you never think about. That's pretty wild. So what's more favorable about Pennsylvania than like other states in the area?
New Jersey doesn't allow raw milk at all.
Really? That's crazy. Why?
They just don't want to oversee it. It's expensive. That the sanitarians and the people that run the milk department of Agriculture, they all have salaries and
Yeah.
and liability.
Yeah. I could imagine.
There's some
that.
liability.
I know that Maine allows for raw dairy to be sold, but again, it's endless testing and permits, and it's very very strictly regulated.
Oh, actually, New Hampshire is the first food sovereign state.
What does that mean?
Any food that you produce, you're allowed to sell.
Really?
Yep.
So, does that include
It's
like hunted meat too? Like if I hunt a deer, I can sell it? I know
No,
that's,
so
like, a
across the
tricky
country,
thing.
it's illegal to sell
Hunted
wildlife.
meat, yeah.
You can hunt it and keep it, but you can't hunt it and sell it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then, of course, there's regulations about what you can and cannot hunt,
Yeah.
and when you can and cannot hunt it. But this is huge
Yeah.
for the food community, for the farming community, for consumers. The fact that there's one state in the U.S. just a couple months ago that voted for what they're calling food sovereignty is huge.
Yeah. Tell me about, like, from your perspective, being like the local like place that you can get these resources that are not common in the area. Like, what is that like for you in the scope of being in this community?
Really fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's just a lot of community love.
Yeah, for sure. I feel like
I get to make people happy every day.
They must look at you like you're an anchor point, though. Like, I need this lady to be successful for me to get the resources I need.
If they love the product, yeah.
Well, I mean, something that you and I talk about is the local food shed, which is...
One of the reasons I do what I do is I believe it's important for our national security to have local producers of food throughout the country.
Yeah.
So that, heaven forbid, there's some sort of unforeseen interruption in any of the national services that we enjoy, that, if you read your history books, anytime there's a political or systemic across history for a nation, it's always the people who have access to food, who live in rural areas, who survive.
Yeah.
And I feel like the more local food that's produced, the safer we are.
Yeah. Not to dive down like a rabbit hole, but I know like the stuff that's going on in Ukraine right now like has me kind of like concerned, because I think the capabilities of Russia specifically and their cyber like attack capabilities is really scary to me, in the sense that they could probably wipe out countries' grids for periods of time that are that would cause serious harm to people. Mm-hmm. So the fact that like I'm a huge proponent for like local everything as well. I want my resources within, like, if I have to get on a bicycle, I can get to it.
Yeah. I mean, if you've got a backyard, you can plant a garden.
Yeah.
I mean, not everybody has the luxury of keeping dairy animals, but that's where the micro dairy comes in, and if you know a place where you can get meat, like if you like keeping it local is safer and healthier.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah, I see it as a patriotic thing.
Yeah, that's awesome. You're a real American.
I'm very patriotic.
Yeah.
I love my country.
Yeah, definitely.
And my state. I love living here.
Place. Well, you were saying like you're from New Jersey originally, right?
It's a good place to be from. Yes. It makes me really appreciate all the things about Bucks County.
Yeah. All right. And I see we got some viewers. They're commenting and stuff. Everyone seems to love you. And if anyone has any questions that they want to ask, please feel free to throw your questions out there. We're kind of getting dark here. I don't want to hang you guys up too much. I know it took me longer than I wanted to get everything rolling today, but I kind of want to open the floor. Can you guys tell me a little bit about anything else specifically that you guys wanted to bring up today to let everyone know about? If I'm a visitor, I shouldn't show up at midnight. Maybe call ahead.
No,
don't show up after dark, because
not safe.
The dogs are not
happy.
happy.
The dogs turned into werewolves after dark.
Yeah. Yep. No, I think we hit a lot of the things that that are important to the farm.
Yeah.
Why we do what we do, and we're just very blessed to be able to do it, to have found the property, saved it from being developed. So far had, the money for the infrastructure, and we just hope to keep it that way.
Yeah. It seems like you have a really awesome team too. Like you have Vanessa and George to kind of, be the other anchors for your ship to make sure everything sails smoothly.
Yeah, I couldn't do it just all by myself.
Yeah.
So.
Tell me about that a little bit. I want to know, how do you make sure that you're assembling the right team for a passion project like this to make it successful?
Well, I mean, I spend a lot of time praying about things, and I like to stay in my mind palace for a certain portion of each day, which means I just, sort of retreat into myself. And I knew that I needed help on the farm, because it was just me.
Yeah.
And it was just George and I in the beginning, and that was difficult.
Of
really
course.
Difficult. Starting up, with no infrastructure whatsoever. So even deciding to have volunteers on the farm was huge.
Yeah.
It was scary.
Were you the first one?
No.
No,
I
okay.
was. Was I the first volunteer?
One of the first, yeah.
Oh.
But,
people are scary.
Yeah, no, for sure.
well, I just didn't feel set up enough.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it just felt like such a mess. Why would I want to bring somebody into that?
Yeah.
So, but I did take that plunge. I think it was like year 2. Year 1 was just a complete mess. Year 2, I think I ventured into. I remember making the post for volunteers. I was like, okay, I'm gonna do this. It was kind of like making the post for events. Like, okay, we're doing events now.
Yeah.
We're butchering. Woo!
Yeah.
We are making milk with a permit. There was like all these milestones.
Yeah.
Getting the permit was like the job of the first year and a half.
Yeah, and then you it seems like you've documented a lot of that, like on the Facebook group, that you guys should all join if you're watching. If you're in this area, you need to come check them out. But yeah, can you tell me a little bit about your journey? Like I know you mentioned a lot in the beginning, but...
I don't know. I just got here and it made sense.
Yeah.
And
were you looking for a career change?
I was in pandemic headspace. I had no idea. Like, I had been locked in my apartment for 6 months, and I was thinking maybe I could start volunteering at an animal shelter or something just to get me out. And then I found out about here. It's kind of... I didn't know anything. So, basically, Abby has taught me and molded me.
I sensed greatness.
Yeah.
So
there's potential in this one.
The friend of mine my friend Noelle, that I had known for many years, is brilliant.
She's amazing.
And she recommended Vanessa, and of course, when Vanessa arrived, I quickly ascertained that Vanessa was equally as brilliant.
Oh, that's nice. Thank you.
She is. And she's just such a talented person, and I just couldn't. And so I realized, like, I must have her.
That's so nice. Thank you.
Her.
Yeah.
And because I prayed for a farm manager, I had ads out, and I was looking for, like, I really need this, because I couldn't handle. I always say I just want to milk the goats.
Yeah.
So like I just want to make the raw product, and I'm not as good at like all the managerial. My record keeping was crap, and just stuff like that. So I knew that I needed, and it was a splurge. It was like, oh, I'm not sure how this can work, but I knew that I couldn't grow because I needed to sit in front of my laptop.
Yeah.
To make it grow, for a certain, a lot each day. And if I was just running around constantly managing things and looking at every single thing, I was never going to be able to like
go to that
jump to that next level.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And so that was like my conviction. And so I just took that leap, and I realized here I was running ads and, praying to God about this thing. And then all of a sudden I realized, oh my God, it's already here.
Yeah. It worked out.
Oh my God, she answered whoever, my prayer was answered.
Yeah.
So should I add angel wings to my farm uniform?
Yeah.
She
has the skill set.
You should see the things she made. She can make the most amazing things.
That mask up there.
Yeah, I was curious about that thing.
That was my Halloween costume.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
And she made a topper for her Christmas tree this year that was biblically accurate for what book was it in the Bible, how they describe an angel.
My kid wanted a biblically accurate angel topper. So
this was not out of any sort of Christian conviction necessarily. It was out of a fascination of what the ancient writing actually says.
Yeah.
Like we think of an angel,
Yeah.
and then like what it actually calls an angel is actually quite scary.
Yeah.
I always say, be not afraid, and like apparently it's like thousands of eyes and wings opening and
Yeah.
fire shooting out, and I'm just like, oh, okay.
She used
I made that.
feathers from the farm, and what else?
I ended up just cutting out paper and gluing it together, and I mean I spent 20 years as a costume crafter.
She can make
Try.
things out
She
of
can make
leather.
anything out of anything.
Yeah, I've done a couple different kinds of leather crafting, and I worked at the Pink Pussycat Boutique in the Village in New York City, making leather things, and then I also made leather masks for theater and like Commedia dell'arte type masks. And,
Yeah, that's cool.
So
Nice.
So
She brings the magic. I make the raw materials.
Yeah.
And also, I do things a lot of the time kind of as a joke. And just for my own amusement. And I
Yeah.
think, like, other people will be amused by it, too.
Yeah, I feel that.
So I think that is, like, part of the appeal for the farm. Like, the Rooster Relief
Yeah.
program.
The rooster relief program.
Drop your
Yeah.
cocks here.
Yeah.
well, that's funny.
That
That's
was,
just
I
funny.
started that as a joke, but it really took off.
It's
Yeah.
good for a T-shirt. I think you should sell those in your shop.
Oh.
There you go.
Yeah.
Or a sticker.
Definitely.
Yeah,
Yep.
yep.
Stickers.
Sticker.
Yeah,
Not
for the
a,
sticker.
not a lot of commitment.
So I have like a couple more questions, but one that I'm curious. I want to know, like, what's a dream thing that you wish you could do that you don't see like a way to do it yet? Maybe is like your next thing that you would love to do here on the farm.
Well, yeah. So right now I'm writing a grant application. It's called Value Added Producer. It's due April 25th. No pressure.
Yeah.
It's very complicated. It's hard to qualify for, and I have been in touch for over a year with the person who coordinates it for our state, so I'm pretty sure that I fall into what they're looking for, and I would be applying for things to help us produce products like raw grass-fed goat milk, cheeses. So we would ask for a cheese cave, perhaps.
Cheese cave.
Oh yeah.
For aging
Oh, yeah.
cheese. I may ask for. I was just reading through, so one of the things I wanted to ask for, and I don't know if I think they might not take this, is a parlor. When you milk an animal, you say it's a milking parlor is the place where you milk an animal. So a milking parlor for a cow, because right now I just walk the cow into my goat milking parlor. It's not optimal.
Cows are so big.
Yeah.
They're so big.
A vat pasteurizer, like a bigger.
Yeah, more than 7 gallons.
Yeah.
7
And
gallons makes like 20 pounds of cheese.
Really? That's crazy.
Yeah, so I can ask for, it's called a working capital grant, so I can, there's a lot of things that we could expand. And again, the guidelines I have to be like very inside the guidelines. So there's the things I want to ask for, but then there's the things that I probably will ask for.
Yeah. That's
So-
reasonable. What about you? Do you have like a wish list item?
I would love a cheese cave, which
A
is
cheese cave?
it's-
Legit? That's like the thing, the cheese cave?
It's basically a giant climate-controlled, humidity-controlled room where you can put cheeses and you can age them for you turn them and you bathe them in beer and you can make fantastic,
yeah.
amazing cheeses for
She
What's
has
like
way
a-
too
what's
many
like a
books
real-
about cheese.
Oh yeah. What's
I-
like an easy to make cheese versus like a difficult cheese? Like, can you tell me? Like,
any
I'm sure
hard
you-
cheeses.
Hard cheeses?
Hard,
Hard.
Hard cheeses.
like
Aged.
aged
Yeah.
cheeses. Like it's just so much time. Like
Yeah.
there are cheeses out there that are like 2 years old, and you don't know if they're going to be any good until you eat them, and you've either wasted 2 years or you've got something wonderful. So, ooh,
Scary.
Jeez.
a little bit of lightning, but
And we do
Yeah.
have a dream together.
yes. Which,
Not the one that involves getting married. We have talked this over for grant writing reasons. But no, we have a dream of Vanessa having a farm nearby that would work in tandem with my
Oh,
farm.
that would be sick. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
what
I-
would you want to do on yours differently?
I would be less animal focused. I
And more
I
plants?
I came here to Abby with like I had done like intensive gardening and I
Yeah.
had done a lot of vegetable work and I also have a lot of books on apples and orchard work.
Oh, cool. You got to
So-
do the winery with the cheese.
I
Oh
would
my God,
I would
that's the
do
move.
hard cider.
Yeah.
So hard
Alright.
cider and Abby's cheese and honey, and it would be like a terroir type of like things from the area that grow together, go food-wise together.
Yeah,
So if
yeah,
I had a
that
farm
makes sense.
nearby, I could, take the baby goats and raise them and then bring them back to Abby when they're all big enough, and she could make the milk and I could make alcoholic beverages, and I
Yeah.
think it would be a good
Sounds like a
combo.
good time to me.
So
Yeah.
maybe
I could turn the baby goats into sausage.
you could turn the baby goats into sausage.
I'm
I I've made sausage
Lady
before.
Butcher thoughts.
Yeah, for sure.
Oh my gosh, this is
That's
a storm.
Yeah, we're getting
Woo.
a lot of crazy weather right now. I just want to read it.
Okay.
Okay, so we do have one question. I just want to bring it up really quick. So, let me read it really quick.
Oh sure.
I'm glad you can see this.
Yeah, so do you guys ever help, or do you guys ever accept volunteers for helping with the animals and things like that, and construction and stuff? I see a good friend of mine, Gaetano, was asking this question.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So they
We
love
have-
volunteers.
We have plenty of people who just come, when they can and just do, something that's needed and just kind of soak up the atmosphere. Sometimes we send them home with food and,
Yeah.
cheese.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're having a Girl Scout troop coming, and they're going to be planting pollinator-friendly
Scout troop,
plants.
you said?
Yep.
Yeah, and we have a Boy Scout troop on the books. We also work with some of the local schools. We have some students that are coming as part of their school.
Yeah, you have, I think, the other girl that was here when I was here, that's just part of her school.
Yeah, that's a small private school in
Yep.
Newtown.
Yeah, that's really cool. Yeah, so you got like all sorts of different like
Oh,
hands
yeah.
in the pot.
Oh,
I guess,
yeah.
too.
Well,
That's really good.
it takes a village to run a farm.
Yep. Yeah, no doubt about it.
And a lot of people really have skills and desires, and they might live in a condo and just not have that opportunity to really
Yeah.
do something physical outside,
Yeah.
build something, but they have all these crazy skills.
Yeah.
So
And
it
I
just
feel like you're in a unique position where you're around a lot of these like communities where you're the only one and you're so open to visitors. It's crazy.
in Newtown area, yeah,
Yeah.
it's definitely unique.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So.
Well, the weather's getting pretty crazy. I
Yeah.
think.
I know.
we'll
I
probably
wanted
sign
to
off
ask
for-
you, how safe is the bus in a
Yeah.
thunderstorm?
Oh, we'll be fine in here. I'm more worried about
I don't
like
feel
the
like that's very reassuring
Yeah,
at all.
I'm worried about like the electronics more than anything. But
Yeah.
yeah, we're fine in here. I've actually.
Screw the people.
The people are fine. I've actually, I have a story where I slept in like not in a forest per se, but in like a tree line. I slept with like pouring down rain one time, right back here, and it was
Did
one
a
of the
tree fall?
best sleeps of my life.
Well, yeah. I mean, it
'Cause,
has
well,
great
yeah,
sounds.
like we're hearing like a lot going on right now, but the microphones actually don't pick up that much rain.
Oh,
which is
that's
cool. Yeah.
that's.
Maybe they'll be grabbing some from you a little more because of the door being open.
Oh,
But don't worry about
I
it.
can-
Yeah. But yeah. Cool. One more thing here. Yeah. So Gaetano says he wants to swing through and help things out.
Yeah.
So Gaetano actually has a very awesome construction business that I was
Yes.
honored to assist with some things earlier.
Yes,
Yes.
Yeah.
please.
Yes.
Patio
Yes.
Paradise. Shout out to those guys.
We need that.
Awesome guys.
Yes.
Yeah.
Do
for
it.
sure. He likes cheese, so.
oh, come! I always need tasters
Yes.
for new flavors.
One of his favorite things is mozzarella sticks. So if you can come up with something with goat cheese for that, I'm sure he'll love you. That's his love language right there.
The cheese is love. Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, thanks for everyone that tuned in, and I guess
you.
we'll say goodbye. Thank you
Okay.
guys for coming on.
All right.
Thank
Good
you.
to see you.